All right, let's get started with building the foundation. So I've just got a few tips in here. One is have separate warehouses per physical warehouse. You know, um, I've seen companies use multiple virtual warehouse kind of in a single building, and it adds a lot of confusion. You might have one virtual warehouse for a test area, another virtual warehouse kind of for the main, and just really adds a bunch of confusion, especially when you get more volume involved. So try to have one warehouse for per building. Use granular bin location tracking. So, have separate locations for shelves, racks. Some customers will use very large bulk, kind of virtual bulk locations. And those are just kind of difficult to keep track of. It's difficult, really difficult to count. But if you have one big giant location, it's really hard to know if your inventory is accurate in that location. Go ahead and add barcodes to the locations. Even if you're not using scanning, that's going to help down the road if you do adopt scanning technology. You may need to rename your location. So, warehouse optimization type thing. You may need to kind of rename your locations to match the physical layout of the building. These warehouses, sometimes they grow. You take on a new product line, you add some racks over here, some racks over there, and all of a sudden, your naming convention is not alphanumeric anymore. So you may want to go rename those locations and, typically named in a serpentine manner. So you go down to the end of the aisle, you're picking A to Z, and then you turn around and come pick back the other way is what I typically see. All right, having documented work instructions for all warehouse tasks, important when here. It's really important in some of the more validated and regulated industries, but really in all industries, you should have documented standard operating procedures for kind of all warehouse tasks. How do I do a receipt? How do I do a put away, a pick? You should be able to go to a work instruction for that. Proper training, this one maybe goes a little bit without saying. Everyone needs to be properly trained on how to handle inventory, but using those work instructions will really help. The work instructions also help with testing, so they can be used for test cases as you're testing out the system, even as you're testing out new updates. Those work instructions come in really handy. When it comes to inventory accuracy, do you need to keep track of lot or batch control? Do you need to keep track of expiration dates, countries of origin, those types of things? If so, you need a system that supports that. You may need to pick in a FIFO manner, first expire, first out, or first in, first out. So you need to kind of be cognizant of that and plan for that accordingly. Similar topic, serialization. Is that required? That adds a lot of complexity once you start serializing. Instead of having a quantity of just 100, you're going to have 100 individual serials. Each serial is going to be a quantity of 1. So that has a bunch of implications. How do you label all those? How do you move all those serial numbers? So that really needs to be thought through. And then maybe you need both. Maybe you need lot control, batch control, and serialization. Some systems that I've seen don't support both. But Dynamics is a robust system. It does support both batch number and serialization on the same product. Go ahead and add your weights and dimensions to products and locations. And, consider adding that to help ensure your products are stored in the right locations. This is going to come in very useful really at any point. With D365 Warehouse Management, it has some functionality to say only a certain amount of products can fit in a location, or this rack only holds X number of pounds. So go ahead and get those weights and dems loaded. I see that all the time, that those are blank, and customers always wish they had those loaded. So at any point, you can start loading those. That's going to help make sure you've got inventory in the right locations where they actually fit out in the warehouse.